Have you ever found yourself in one of those moments where everything seems to have lost its meaning? When you lie in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, and there's a hollow ache so deep that you're not even sure if you'll have the strength to face another day. You put on a brave face for those around you, but inside, something is screaming for help. And in the silence, a thought creeps in, has God forgotten me? If you've ever asked yourself that question, then this message is for you. Because today, I want to remind you that God has never stopped loving you. Even now, in the middle of your thoughts of giving up, He is still writing the most beautiful chapter of your life. There are times when it feels like you've hit rock bottom, like nothing exists beyond this dark pit you've fallen into. It seems as if everything you once worked so hard to build has come crashing down. The dreams that used to bring light to your eyes have turned to dust. And you ask yourself, how did I end up here? You look back and wonder, all that effort, all those sacrifices, and in the end, what remains? It feels as though everything inside you has withered, hope, strength, even faith. You begin to believe this is the end of the road. But what if I told you this isn't your end? That this breaking point might be the birthplace of something completely new? That the ground that gave way beneath your feet is being replaced with something stronger, something more stable, where God is laying the foundation for something far greater than you've ever imagined. Remember the story of Lazarus? When Jesus finally arrived in the village, all hope seemed lost. Lazarus had died. It had been days. His body already carried the stench of death. From a human perspective, the situation was hopeless. But Jesus doesn't operate within the limits of human impossibility. He specializes in bringing life to what others have already declared finished. While everyone believed it was too late, Jesus proved that with Him, it's never too late. He called Lazarus by name. And the man who was dead stood up, alive, restored. Maybe that's where you find yourself right now. Convinced that time has run out. That it's too late to fix what's broken in your marriage, too late to believe in dreams again, too late to rediscover joy, too late to rebuild from the wreckage. But stop for a moment and think carefully. When did God ever promise a life without trials? He never did. What He promised was His presence through the trials. He promised never to leave your side. So take a deep breath and reflect on your journey. How many times have you felt like giving up completely? How many tears have fallen silently, unnoticed by others? How many nights have you cried into your pillow, thinking you couldn't bear another day? And yet, you're still here. Do you know what that means? It means there's still strength in you. Even wounded. Even exhausted. Even afraid. You didn't make it this far by accident. There's a bigger purpose behind everything you're facing. And what if this pain you're carrying today is the very thing that will become your greatest testimony tomorrow? What if this lowest point in your life is exactly where God wants to meet you in a way you've never encountered before? Sometimes, God allows everything to fall apart, not to destroy you, but to build something brand new from the rubble. He wants to show you that what is preparing for your future is far more beautiful than anything you've lost. This isn't just something we read about in the Bible. It happens in real life too. Think of how many people you've heard about, those who lost everything, who were betrayed, abandoned, left with nothing, and just when it seemed like there was no way out, a new path opened up. There are stories of those who went bankrupt, people who were cheated on, those who lost loved ones. And when it seemed like the end, a new beginning was waiting just around the corner. Amidst the turmoil, they encountered God's presence in such a powerful and intimate way that their lives were forever changed. The pain became a driving force. The tears brought renewal. Are you familiar with the journey of J.K. Rowling? Before she penned the Harry Potter series, she was a single mother, burdened by financial hardship, battling severe depression, and repeatedly turned away by publishers. What if she had given up? What if she had allowed herself to believe that the darkness she was facing was the conclusion of her story? But she didn't give in. She carried on. She endured. And what appeared to be the end turned out to be the remarkable beginning of something extraordinary. You might not see it yet. Perhaps everything around you seems to be shouting that it's all over. But this feeling you're facing isn't your final chapter. It's the silence before the breakthrough. And when God steps in, Even what was lifeless begins to breathe again. Even those dreams you thought were buried forever can be revived and called back into existence. They will rise. They will breathe. They will live. So even if you're weary, even if it feels like you've got nothing left to give, hold on tight. Breathe. Because this wilderness will not last. And one day, when you look back, you'll see it clearly, that it was in this very moment that God was carrying you in His arms. This is not the end. It's a new beginning. And this time, with God guiding everything. Have you ever felt like you're simply not enough? Like you're not good enough, not pure enough, not clever enough, not strong enough? Have you looked at yourself in the mirror and whispered, "God can't possibly use me. I make too many mistakes. I fall too often"? Maybe you're bearing a heavy burden of shame, believing that your opportunities are gone, that your moment has passed, and all that's left is to get by. But let me share with you a truth that could change everything. God isn't searching for perfection. He's looking for willingness. Scripture is full of people who, by human standards, would never be considered worthy. Moses struggled with speech. He even pleaded with God, insisting he wasn't the right person, that no one would listen. And how did God reply? "I will be with you." Gideon saw himself as the weakest of his clan, unimportant and incapable. Yet God called him to lead an army. David was a forgotten shepherd boy when he was chosen to be king. Rahab had a past as a prostitute, yet she was woven into the lineage of Jesus. Peter, impulsive and fearful, denied Christ 3 times, and still he was chosen to be a foundational pillar of the early church. How many times have you told yourself, "I'm not good enough for this"? How often have you hidden behind your past mistakes, your limitations, your shame? Maybe you've convinced yourself that God only uses those who are flawless. But that's not how God works. He doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the ones He calls. Perhaps right now, you feel broken inside, like you've lost everything, your sense of self, your strength, your courage. But listen to me, God doesn't need you to have it all together. He just wants you to surrender. Because the very fragments you think are worthless, He can turn into tools of healing, comfort, and hope. He uses your scars to bring light to others. He transforms your pain into purpose. Your weakness becomes a powerful testimony. Have you ever considered that the part of your life you try the hardest to hide may be exactly what God wants to use to reach someone else? That your story, flawed, raw, and real, could be the bridge between heaven and someone's heart just as they're about to give up? Nowadays, countless people find themselves constantly comparing their lives to what they see on social media. They glance at someone else's highlight reel and think, "I'll never be like that." But what those carefully curated images fail to show are the struggles behind the scenes, the hidden tears, the sleepless nights, the internal battles fought in silence. And in the middle of all this, you can so easily forget that your uniqueness, your journey, and your fight matter deeply to God. There's a woman named Christine Caine. She was adopted, endured abuse as a child, and spent many years not knowing who she truly was. But one day, she made the decision to stop hiding. She handed her wounds over to God. Today, she travels across the globe, preaching the gospel, helping to rescue victims of human trafficking, and guiding broken souls towards healing. Not because she was flawless, but because she was willing. The same God who once called imperfect people continues to do so today. And right now, He is calling you. It doesn't matter what others have said about you. It doesn't matter if you stumble over your words, if you fear standing in front of others, or if you carry shame from your past. God doesn't define you by your limitations. He sees your heart. And if there is even the smallest spark of faith left within it, He can fan it into a blazing fire. Maybe you're working an ordinary job, feeling as though there's no bigger purpose in that place. But God uses you right where you are. Through the way you treat those around you, your integrity, your perseverance. Maybe you're a student, a parent, a retiree. God doesn't require a specific age, degree, or title. All He needs is a willing heart that says, "Here I am." Don't underestimate what can happen through a life surrendered to Him. Don't wait until everything in your life looks perfect to believe that He can work through you. His grace doesn't rely on how well you perform. It is rooted in His unfailing love. And that love never breaks, never runs out, never misses a moment. So if today you feel small, remember, it was with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish that He fed thousands. If you feel weak, remember, His power is made perfect in our weakness. And if you feel invisible, know this, He sees you. And of all the people in the world, He chose you. Yes, you. There are times when God's silence wounds. It cuts deeper than any no. Because you've prayed, poured your heart out, wept on your knees, and still, nothing. You wait for a door to swing open, a word to be spoken, a sign from above, but what you're met with is silence. A silence so loud it shakes your soul. And then, the question begins to echo, has God forgotten me? How many times have you felt ignored by heaven? Tried everything just to get His attention, only for it all to feel still, motionless? Have you looked at everyone else's life and wondered, why is it so hard for me? It seems like everyone is moving forward, achieving goals, reaching new heights, and you're stuck, trapped in a never-ending season. No answers. Just silence. But God's silence is not rejection. It's a season of refinement. A time of shaping. It's where your roots grow deeper. Where your character is carved out. Where the foundation is laid, one that can carry something far greater than you imagined. Silence isn't emptiness. It holds divine purpose. Always. Jesus Himself knew what that silence felt like. In the Garden of Gethsemane, moments before the crucifixion, He knelt in agony and prayed. He sweated blood. He cried to the Father, "If it is possible, take this cup from me." And what came from heaven? Silence. And still, He chose to trust. Chose to obey. Chose to stay. That's what God asks of you in the silence, that you stay. That you continue to believe, even when nothing makes sense. That you lean into Him, even when you feel abandoned. Because His silence is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a deeper, stronger, unshakable you. And the promise remains, He is working, even in the quiet. May you keep holding on to hope, even when there's nothing you can see. Because that's when faith becomes something genuine. Trusting is simple when life flows smoothly. But to trust when everything feels broken and confusing, that's the kind of faith that reaches the heart of God. Maybe you've been praying for a job opening that still hasn't come. Perhaps you've been waiting for a breakthrough in your health, your relationship, or that old dream you've carried for years. You might be battling inner struggles like fear, anxiety, or past wounds. And in return, all you seem to get is silence. But don't be fooled, God is closer than you think. He's moving in the unseen chapters of your journey. He's arranging the scene behind the curtain, stirring hearts, aligning paths you're not yet able to perceive. Think of a seed planted deep in the earth. It doesn't make a sound. It lies buried in silence. But inside, something powerful is taking place. Roots are spreading, strength is building, and eventually, that tiny seed will burst through the ground. You don't see the process, but it's there, unfolding. That's exactly what's happening with you. God's silence is the season of your planting. It's when He strengthens what's within. It's when He removes what slows you down and replaces it with what will uphold you. So many people we admire today went through this silent preparation before their breakthrough. Take Nick Vujicic, for example. Born without limbs, he battled severe emotional pain, facing thoughts of ending his life at just 10 years old. He cried out to God for healing, begging for the pain to be taken away, but heaven stayed quiet. What Nick didn't know was that God was crafting something far greater. Today, he is one of the most inspiring speakers in the world, sharing hope with millions. The miracle wasn't in changing his body. It was in transforming his heart, even without a physical cure. God doesn't always respond the way we expect. He responds in the way our soul truly needs. Sometimes He doesn't change our circumstances, because first He wants to change us. He wants to shape us, mature us, teach us to walk by faith, not by what we see. Here's a challenge for you. Over the next 7 nights, take 5 minutes before bed and talk to God, without asking for anything. Just thank Him. Even if you don't understand everything, give thanks. For what you have. For the breath in your lungs. For another chance to start again. This practice will help you hear Him in the stillness. It will train your heart to rest, even when answers are nowhere to be found. And just when you least expect it, He will speak. And it will be so unmistakable, so powerful, so filled with love, that you'll finally realize why the silence had to come first. So breathe. Don't panic just because God hasn't answered yet. He's not distant. He's simply getting you ready for something that requires greater faith, deeper trust, and real spiritual maturity. Because what He's preparing to place in your hands isn't ordinary. It's something extraordinary. And when it finally arrives, you'll look back and feel grateful you didn't give up during the silence. There are seasons when the pain feels unbearable, when you begin to believe it serves no purpose at all. That all it does is damage, delay, and destroy. And this leads so many people into a quiet surrender. They keep going through the motions, smiling on the outside, but inside, they're dimming more and more each day. The truth is, the pain you're carrying right now may feel like a crushing burden. It may seem impossible to believe it could produce anything good. But what if it's the very tool God is using to create something new within you? The Word of God says in Romans chapter 8 that all things work together for the good of those who love Him. Not just some things. Not only the good things. But all things. Even the ones that hurt the most. Even those memories you wish you could erase. Even the ones you've never dared to speak aloud. God has an incredible way of turning sorrow into testimony. When you hand over to Him not only your triumphs, but also your wounds, He begins to craft something far greater than anything you could ever have imagined. Think about the struggles you've faced recently. Perhaps it's the grief of losing someone dearly loved. Maybe it's an unexpected breakup, a financial collapse, an emotional battle that no one else can see. You're doing your best to stay strong, but at times it feels as though you're one breath away from falling apart. Your chest tightens, the urge to disappear creeps in, and you quietly wonder, will I ever come out of this? But what if, in the middle of all this pain, something new is being born within you? A version of you that is stronger, more tender, deeper, a version that can truly feel the pain of others, that prays more sincerely, that lives with greater meaning. Because pain, when surrendered into the right hands, becomes purpose. And this isn't just an idea, it's something real. Take the story of Viola Davis, for instance. She grew up in devastating poverty. Her early life was scarred by domestic abuse, racism, and not knowing where her next meal would come from. She has shared how she often went hungry, ashamed of the smell of her clothes and the condition of her home. But rather than give in to bitterness, she rose with courage and determination. Today, she stands among the most acclaimed actresses in history. And when asked what made her so resilient, she simply said, "It was the pain that taught me how to fight." That's the truth. Pain is not the conclusion, it is the beginning of a calling. Have you ever noticed that the kindest, most compassionate people you meet are often those who've endured the most? That's because pain teaches lessons that comfort never will. It draws you closer to God in a way that joy cannot. It's when you're standing at your breaking point that you begin to realize it's not your own strength carrying you, it's His grace. And that changes everything. Maybe right now, you're thinking, but I can't see anything good in what I'm going through. And that's completely understandable. When you're in the middle of a storm, all you can see is the cloud above you. But the truth is, you don't have to see. You just need to believe. Because what God is building in silence, in the unseen, will one day make perfect sense. It will become a shelter for someone else who'll walk through the same dark valley you're walking now. And if you're willing, I'd like to offer you something to do. For the next 7 days, each day, take a sheet of paper and write down one pain you've experienced and one lesson you took from it. It doesn't need to be anything huge, even a small truth that helped shape you into someone better. At the end of the week, read it all. And you'll see how not one tear was wasted. Every scar carried a message. And that pain didn't break you, it refined you. Don't run from your pain. Don't try to bury it or pretend it's not there. Bring it to God. place it in his hands. Because when he holds what once wounded you, he turns it into something that brings healing to others. And suddenly, your suffering has meaning. Your tears carry value. Your despair transforms into direction. One day, you'll look back on this very moment with tears in your eyes, but this time, tears of thankfulness. And you'll say, I didn't understand it then, but now I see. God was preparing me. Because yes, you were wounded, but you were also chosen. Yes, you bled, but you will bloom. The pain that has brought you to your knees today is the very same force that is shaping your wings for tomorrow. There will come a time when the world hears about someone who overcame, someone who refused to give in, someone whose wounds were healed from within, and who began to bring healing to others as well. That person is you. Yes, you who are listening right now, perhaps with a heart shattered in silence. Perhaps you've been holding back tears for days, trying to appear strong for everyone else, while inwardly crying out for someone to notice. Maybe no one truly understands the weight you've been carrying. Maybe they haven't got the slightest clue how much effort it takes to simply get up every morning and face the day. But I need you to hear this as if the very voice of God were whispering directly into your heart, I am still with you. I never left. People may have turned their backs on you. Perhaps you've been overlooked, dismissed, or abandoned by those who once swore they cared. But you have never, not for one moment, been forgotten by God. Even in your darkest hours, even when your prayers fell silent, even when you strayed away, He remained. He waited. And He is still right there, by your side, holding you up, even if you cannot feel it. Because true love never walks away. True love stays. Maybe you think you've failed too many times, that you've gone too far, or wasted too many chances. But God doesn't operate by what's been wasted. He works through restoration. He redeems what's been broken. He takes the ashes of what was and breathes life into something new. You haven't yet seen what He is about to do. You haven't yet realized the work He has already begun deep within your soul. You are not a mistake. You are not a burden. You are a vessel of meaning. You were chosen. You are a design in progress, sculpted by the very hands of the one who made the stars. And even if today finds you curled on the floor, bleeding invisibly, too weak to call for help, let this truth pierce through your weariness. This is not where your story ends. There is still breath in your lungs. There are still promises that have yet to unfold. There is still room for a fresh start. All it takes is one more step. Just one more. Even if your eyes are filled with tears. Even if you don't yet understand. Just one more. And one day, when you look back, you'll be overwhelmed with emotion because you didn't quit. You'll hold yourself close and whisper, I'm glad I kept going. Because God will reveal that everything that felt like it was breaking you was actually moving you towards purpose, not towards ruin. And if the tears are flowing now, let them flow. Because sometimes tears aren't a sign of weakness. Sometimes they're the Spirit of God gently washing your soul clean, making space for a new beginning. You are deeply loved. You are needed. And the most beautiful chapters of your journey have not even begun yet. Don't let go of His hand. He never let go of yours. There is still time. There is still hope. And the miracle, it has already begun inside you.